Released by Square Enix in 2006 on the PlayStation 2, directed by Takayoshi Nakazato, who previously directed a Dragon Ball Z game, and written by Hiroki Chiba, the sequel to Final Fantasy VII would come almost a decade later in the form of a third-person shooter action RPG. The game would take the three least developed characters in the main game, Vincent, Yuffie, and Reeves Ketchi, and feature them as the main protagonists in this game. For story, the entire game is now voice acted, and Vincent is the primary character used, though Ketchi is used for a stealth segment. For gameplay, third-person shooting and melee combat are mainly all that's used, as well as isolated turret and stealth sections. In addition, weapons and stats can be expanded and improved, a mouse and keyboard could be used as controls, and Vincent retains his ability to transform per limit break. The story only gets larger from here, so let's cut it down to size with a recapitation. The game begins during the meteor fall of Final Fantasy VII. Yuffie and Vincent are working together to evacuate Midgar when Vincent has a feeling to double-check the corpse of Hojo after the party just killed him. Yuffie is shocked to verify he's still alive, and Vincent dashes towards him, planning to ensure he stays dead with his signature triple-barreled revolver, Cerberus. However, lightning strikes the platform he's on, and when he looks again, Hojo is gone. Yuffie retrieves Vincent before the whole cannon explodes, though we see Hojo has activated a certain program before leaving. We cut to 3 years later, 1 year after the events of Advent Children, where Vincent is still brooding over his past as he looks over the crystallized body of Lucrezia in her isolated cave, and is now in the town of Calm as they host a festival. The town is suddenly attacked by a well-armed, highly advanced, and well-organized army, and dozens of people are selected and captured while the rest are slaughtered. The group seems to also be seeking out Vincent in particular as he sets out to meet up with his old ally Reeve, the puppet master behind Ketchi. A brutish man named Azul and a smaller woman named Shulk ambush Vincent, demanding the proto-materia in his possession, but they are soon forced to retreat. Reeve comes in tow with the WRO, the World Regenesis Organization, which he now leads with the task of helping the planet's rehabilitation. Vincent notes it's nice to see him out of the suit, and Reeve explains the attackers are an elite group called the Sviets, but Vincent explains he doesn't want to help Reeve with this new endeavor. Reeve asks him to reconsider, but is suddenly shot from behind. Vincent retaliates and rushes to Reeve's side, but it turns out he was just a Reeve suit being worn by his main puppet, Ketchi. He coyly catches Vincent's concern, stating there really is a good heart beneath that cold shell. Conceding, Vincent agrees to help run the invaders out of town. Vincent breaks through their front lines, but his work is far from over as new foes are starting to rise up elsewhere. Reeve now explains that the army is called Deep Ground, once a shadow military arm of Shinra, and certain members like Azul are members of an even eliter group called the Sviets. Reeve doesn't have much information on them as he was kept out of the loop between the former president, Heidegger, Scarlet, and Hojo, even as a Shinra executive. It was so secret not even Rufus was informed when he assumed command. For now, Deep Ground seems to be going from town to town, abducting hundreds of people almost instantly, and the investigation by the WRO is still ongoing. Suddenly, Vice, the leader of Deep Ground, sends out a broadcast in which he declares their will to cleanse the world by sparing the clean for another purpose and destroying the impure. En route to the city of Edge, the new city built literally on the edge of the old ruins of Midgar, he fends off pursuing deep ground beasts and forces, and in the city, he meets a scientist for WRO, Shalua, who shares the eerie phenomenon of there being no trace of the 500 people living in the city, the deep ground forces that attacked them, or the WR forces sent to defend them. Investigating, he encounters a member of the Sviets called Rosso, who reveals the proto-materia Vincent has is the key to controlling Omega, and is remarkably strong in her own right. Vincent is forced to assume his most powerful limit break form, Chaos, which pushes her back but exhausts him completely. As he passes out, he thinks again of Lucrezia and his past, but when he wakes up, he's really in Shalua's lab in WRO headquarters. She learns he harbors the Chaos gene, which was an aspect of Lucrezia's research of Chaos. She theorized Chaos was a new life form hiding somewhere in the world, but the rest of her thesis was never recovered from Shinra archives. Vincent shares that Rosso stated the proto-materia is the key to controlling Chaos, though the alarm goes off that Deep Ground is now attacking WRO headquarters. Reeve gives the order to defend while Vincent is sent to handle the Sviets, and Vincent is followed by Shulk when he is met by Shalua again, who is shocked to see her. Shulk draws her twin beam swords on her, but Shalua urges her to remember that she is her sister, gone missing for the last 10 years. Shulk actually admits she remembers a little of the past decade, but mostly the torturous existence of constant experimentation that has left her with the body of a 9-year-old despite being 19 years old, and in need of daily doses of Mako or else she'll die. She moves to kill them, but Reeve comes in and points out Shalua sacrificed a lot to find Shulk, emotionally as well as physically, like her arm, eye, and half her organs. Quickly, he provides a distraction and gets them away as Shulk is still left in thought, and Vincent receives tranquilizers to take Shulk down safely. Vincent defeats Shulk non-lethally, and now Azul comes in to capture Vincent. They resort to stronger firepower to even break past his resilient barrier, but Vincent manages to edge out a win. As Deepground falls back, Vincent decides to trek to Nibelheim, particularly Shinra Manor, and along the way he reflects again on his past. He recalls the first time he met Lucrezia when he was a young Turk who was shocked to learn of his last name, but they ultimately got along well enough. At the same time, Reeve sends Ketchi to infiltrate where Deepground is taking the abducted citizens. He learns they are being fed en masse to a creature being grown there called Omega, though Ketchi is caught by another of Sviat leaders, Nero. Meanwhile, Vincent is in the basement lab of Shinra Manor, where he finds a hologram of Lucrezia, and she shares that her research of Chaos and Omega began when she discovered their mention in scriptures by the ancients. Omega, as its name suggests, is meant to be an end of all life on the planet and return it to the Lifestream, where it can be collected and brought to another planet. Life will be born again on the new planet while the old one will die. After collecting some data, Rosso suddenly appears, explaining the bloody origin of Deepground, but then ambushes him, stabs him, and plucks out the protomateria from within him. Without it, the wounded Vincent begins struggling to contain the Chaos Beast within him. Rosso moves to finish him off now, but a swift sneak attack catches her off guard and blinds her long enough for the Wutai assailant to escape with Vincent, who blacks out. Another flashback shows how Vincent confronted Lucrezia and Hojo about using their own child for the Genova project, but is assured that as they are both scientists, they know what they are doing. Afterwards, he was turned into the creature he is today. He wakes up to see the person who saved him was none other than Yuffie, who was helping Reeve out and poking around Nibelheim at the time. Vincent thanks Yuffie, as they are both recalled back to headquarters. At this time, Azul wakes up, as does Shulk, though Shallua has no intentions of letting her go back to Deepground, prepared to fight and reminding her she's never won any of their fights as children. Next, Deepground launches another assault on WRO. Vincent's transport is attacked and Yuffie is knocked out, and Azul turns into a giant behemoth monster, rampaging in the facility. As Vincent arrives with Shulk and Shallua, he bats them all away and informs Shulk she is no longer needed by Deepground, per order of their leader Vice. Her main use for Deepground was her ability to mentally connect to any digital data, which helped them find Vincent, but now that they have the protomateria and she's been captured by the WRO, she is to be terminated as a loose end. They can't beat Azul for now, so Shallua sacrifices her artificial arm to open a door for them to escape through and ends up sacrificing herself to ensure Shulk's survival. After the attack, Vincent encourages Reeve not to give up, as it turns out Shallua survived as well, albeit barely. He also encourages Shulk to realize how much her sister cares for her, while also remembering fond memories of Lucrezia. Somehow, Shulk finds she is able to mentally link to Vincent and view his memories, to both of their surprise. Now, Reeve comes in with the news that the data Vincent brought is fragmented and incomplete, and Shulk brings up that most of Lucrezia's research was actually uploaded into her mind. This was all to help her find the protomateria, but has the odd effects of Lucrezia's consciousness interfering with Shulk's own mind. She volunteers to upload Lucrezia's reports from her mind onto their network and perhaps patch the holes in the report they already have. She also believes doing so will help her regain her mind back. At this time, Sid comes in with a fleet of airships to help reinforce the WRO and prepare them for a counter-assault on Deepground. In the meanwhile, Shulk prepares a synaptic net dive in order to project her consciousness in the digital world, as is her specialty, or communicate subconsciously with other beings. Moving along, as the operation begins, more old allies join the effort, as Barrett, Tifa, and Cloud act as the vanguard on the ground as they move towards the battlefield of Old Midgar. At the same time, Shulk enters her synaptic net dive and shares with the group in the airship what she sees. It's more of Lucrezia's report, in which she proposed that just as the Lifestream is a part of the cycle of the world, so too is the world a part of the cycle of the cosmos. Anything created will one day end, and the same is true for this world, as right before the world should end, the entire Lifestream will converge at a single point. There is an entity called Omega that will collect all life on the planet and leave to find a new home in space. Meanwhile, the vacated world will crumble and die. It turns out Omega is a weapon, like the previous ones before it, though it was made for the specific purpose as a failsafe and will only appear when the end of the world is imminent. Normally, there's nothing to worry about with Omega, however, Deepground is trying to wake up Omega early. By capturing and killing thousands, they are falsifying a doomsday in order to trick the planet into summoning up Omega. Powering the massive slaughterhouse is Mako Reactor 0, underneath Midgar, and fueled by channeling the other reactors in the city. Per the plan, Cloud and the ground teams are handling the reactors, while Vincent is tasked with handling the Sviets. In the downtime before, it turns out Sid has married his previous assistant, Shara, and this fleet is funded by Reeve, though he wonders where he got all the funds. When Reeve speaks on the matter, he actually doesn't know who's writing the checks, but since the WRO is so crucial, he doesn't press the matter, but he suspects it's someone rich who feels they owe the planet a debt. With Shulk, Lucrezia's report is defragmenting within her mind, so she needs to rest, though while it happens, she can see a lot of Lucrezia's memories with Vincent as well. By himself, he's alarmed that he cannot control the unchecked chaos within him, but the vision of Lucrezia he sees when he sees Shulk calls him down for now. Meanwhile, the Sviets and Deepground stand ready as Sid readies their air battalion. Shulk hands Vincent his phone modified by her to contact her directly and net dive to wherever he's at, allowing her to be his operator and guide. She's actually a bit embarrassed when Vincent thanks her directly for the help until now and will rely on her going forward. The group takes position as the attack begins. Deepground hunkers down in defense as Yuffie leads the aerial troops. Cloud is intercepted by Rosso and they break off from the main group to duel on their own. Vincent launches from the Shera just in time as they sustain light damage from Nanzul's attack and skims through the anti-air fire to land safely on the outskirts of the battlefield with Deepground HQ before him. Moving in, he encounters Rosso again, and while Vincent wins their final match, she refuses to acknowledge his strength, choosing instead to end her own life by her own hands. Afterwards, when he has another lapse of chaos, Shulk informs him without the protomateria his condition is very unstable, and delves more into Lucrezia's report on chaos. Chaos, while existing within Vincent, is actually its own separate outside entity that is also summoned before the end of the world and works in tandem with Omega by ending all life in the world so it may rejoin the lifestream. Lucrezia and Shulk both urge Vincent not to give in to chaos and don't want him to die. Suddenly, her link is cut off and investigating finds that Nero has snuck aboard to destroy the Shera's engine room. At this time, she makes a choice to stand with Vincent and the others and fight Nero and Deepground. Next, Vincent faces down Azul, who pulls out all the stops, turning into a giant behemoth, and pushes Vincent to the edge. However, Vincent's chaos form erupts out and overwhelms Azul, impaling him with his own cannon and blowing him away. Now Nero appears, opting not to fight Chaos Vincent, but rather drop Shulk's phone nearby. He has another flashback to when Lucrezia worked on Vincent after Hojo already experimented him after he was shot in a dispute over Lucrezia. Lucrezia and Hojo are no longer on the best of terms, and Hojo long recognized Vincent loved Lucrezia and is amused she's using him as an experiment for her thesis. When he wakes up, he's back to normal, and after spotting Shulk's phone, he soon sees Deepground's actual home base and the monsters within. Nero's darkness attempts to take hold of him, but Shulk, also in the darkness, urges him to stay in control, which helps him keep his focus, even though her magic is draining fast to maintain a neural connection to him and is killing her. A new memory from Lucrezia within Shulk comes out in which long ago she visited the fated grotto with Vincent's father, Grimoire Valentine, who said chaos will one day awaken here. Lucrezia was passionate about their research, but even Grimoire told her to pace herself. Some dark energies they were studying in relation to the protomateria burst out from its container, and Grimoire shielded Lucrezia with his body. The energy blast was fatal, and as he surrendered to the lifestream, Grimoire told Lucrezia to tell his son Vincent he's sorry. Shulk now thinks of Shalua, who's still in critical condition, and begins to show emotion for the first time in a long time about not wanting to lose her either. Nero now confronts Vincent, intent on protecting his brother Vice, and admitting to capturing Shulk within his darkness. They fight, and Nero casts Vincent into the darkness again, though this time he doesn't fight it. He doesn't succumb to it either, and actually intended to search the abyss for Shulk, finding her, and surprising Nero with their return. Nero prepares to unleash a deeper darkness, but Yuffie appears and her unflappable cheer actually deters Nero away for the time being. They take Shulk to a nearby Mako chamber to revitalize her, and Yuffie splits off to shut down this last reactor while Vincent confronts Vice. With Shulk, her and Vincent's resonance bring out the past again, this time when he learned Lucrezia once worked closely with his father but never told him, which caused a rift in their relationship as she still blamed herself for Grimoire's death, but Vincent never blamed her. After that point, she began to distance herself from Vincent and grow closer to Hojo. Vincent always told himself that if she was happy then he was happy, but that was always hard for him to swallow. Yuffie and Vincent power forward to Vice, but are shocked to find him already dead, though Nero comes behind them to inform them it's not for long, as a new life is rising up within Vice like how chaos is rising up in Vincent. Vincent reads between the lines and understands he means that Vice will soon awaken as Omega. As they ready to destroy Vice before that happens, Nero retaliates, plunging them both into his abyssal darkness again, but again, Vincent has conquered Nero's darkness and easily saves both of them. Turning to face Nero, Vincent is taken to a plane of oblivion where he duels the Dark Brother of Vice and defeats him once again. With Nero limping away to Vice, Vincent gives chase and they see the leader of Deepground is up on his feet. However, as Nero approaches his brother, Vice impales Nero and casts his body aside. He gloats triumphantly before Vincent and states how they meet again. Vincent is a bit confused, and Weiss explains that 3 years ago he virtualized his mind and put it on the world network, so even when his body died, his mind existed in a virtual reality. Eventually, the data of his mind eventually all came together in a sort of Neo-reunion, and suddenly Vincent recognizes Weiss for who he truly is, and that is the new body for Dr. Hojo. He admits he never took Lucrezia's research seriously until 3 years ago when he actually saw Vincent assume the form of Chaos as a limit break. Then, he sought out Omega, as if Vincent could manifest Chaos, then perhaps he can manifest Omega, the strongest weapon. However, not just anybody can host the power of Chaos or Omega, and the reason Vincent can even contain Chaos was because Hojo constructed a near indestructible body for him. In fact, the act of him injecting Genova cells into his original body was a part of his effort to forge a proper vessel for Omega. However, he didn't expect Genova to influence his mind or exert its will over him as much as it did, so as a backup plan, he uploaded his mind to the net. Eventually, he acknowledged his own body simply wasn't durable enough, but then remembered the secret Deep Ground project in which the elitist of the elite soldier were grown and hardened. When Weiss was online, Hojo possessed him, and then convinced Nero and Deep Ground to go along with his plan, without them catching that he was taking over Weiss's mind. He then began working on his next experiment, in which if Chaos could be born in a tainted lifestream for Vincent, then perhaps Omega could be grown in a pure lifestream. He then had the minions of Deep Ground capture and sacrifice the proper-blooded citizens needed for the artificially refined lifestream he would cultivate Omega in, and prepare the body of Weiss for Omega to awaken in once he absorbed the lifestream. Naturally, Vincent won't allow it, and begins his attack on the formidable Weiss, who is not only very durable but wielding a custom pair of pistol swords of his own. Despite bearing the mind of the scientist Hojo, the fighting prowess of Weiss is still intact. He beats down Vincent, and even tapping into the power of Chaos doesn't help him much. Shulk then connects and projects the image of Lucrezia before them, speaking through it to urge Vincent to take control of Chaos and use it without it using him. Hojo dismisses the projection and slashes again at Vincent, who suddenly stops the attack barehanded, now using the proto-materia within Weiss to summon the power of Chaos without losing his human form. Vincent is now able to move much faster and stronger than before, putting him on a level of Weiss. As he beats Weiss away, Nero comes back from the lifestream and manages to cast out Hojo from Weiss's mind. The brothers fuse together, destroying Hojo and merging with their lifestream, and their lifestream now begins to erupt out, carrying Vincent with them. Omega is now born, and within the lifestream, Vincent is taken over by Chaos. Over with Shulk, she wonders if she can interface with the lifestream and attempts to do so while commenting how Lucrezia's thoughts and wishes are still strong within her. Within, she manages to locate and seize the proto-materia within Omega and escape. She now dives into Vincent, returning the proto-materia to him as Vincent comes to his senses, seeing Lucrezia's form among the lifestreams Shulk brought. More memories come out from their interaction, this time when Lucrezia was attempting to save Vincent after he was shot and experimented on by Hojo, somewhat as an apology to him and also part of a repayment to his father for saving her life. When Chaos was surging out of him, she found the proto-materia was what can contain it, though she saw very little success after that point. Lucrezia became more and more distressed as time went on, losing her mind to the Genova cells injected within her, as well as being driven mad at having her son Sephiroth taken away from her the moment he was born. While she still had her mind, she uploaded a digital version of it and then abandoned Vincent and her lab. Much later, Shulk was tasked to find and download Lucrezia's digital mind fragments and use them to find the proto-materia, but now Shulk wants it to use to connect Vincent to Lucrezia's heart. Lucrezia now speaks to Vincent in his mind, first informing him the real her long crumbled away and this is just the data version of her. She brings him back to the happier times they had together, and while she realizes her true feelings, she knows she made far too many mistakes and can only apologize for her messing up the past. In the end, she's happy he survived, and he snaps to reality, saves Shulk, gains full control of Chaos, and forges a new gun out of sheer will and power. He blows past the defenses of Omega and withstands the sheer power it's putting out, though now, all the ground teams captained by his allies old and new succeed in destroying the last of Midgar's reactor, cutting off Omega's power supply and dropping its barrier. Diving deep into the depths of Omega, Chaos Vincent tears out again to face down the last weapon, and within it, Weiss. Facing down the rising forms of Shinra's most elite soldier, Vincent triumphs and leaves Omega. However, the weapon isn't down as it grows wings and attempts to leave the planet, but Vincent puts everything he has into ramming Omega and detonating it in a cataclysmic explosion visible from space. As the dust clears, the stars are visible for the first time in a long time over Midgar, as the livestream returns to the planet. As the game ends, it's been 1 week since the clash, and Shulk is beginning to learn to live for herself. Vincent is back in the grotto Chaos first came from, where Lucrezia still stays, crystallized for now. He thanks her, not only for then, but for now, and as he leaves, she sheds a single tear from within her crystal. Outside, Shulk is no longer associated with Deep Ground and greets a more at peace Vincent with a bright smile as they look up to an even brighter day. At the end of the game, where Weiss has fallen, nearby is where Genesis, a character from Shinra's history as far back as Crisis Core, wakes up ever since Deep Ground took him and asks him for his help, yet he refused, preferring to sleep in isolation. He awakens and picks up Weiss, telling him it's not yet time for slumber and they have much work to do. Extending his one black wing, Genesis and Weiss fly off into the night. Dirge of Cerberus, Final Fantasy VII, has enjoyed the success of selling over 1.5 million copies worldwide.